What could be the final game for Fat Pikachu is now on the precipice here. Game 3 between Blue Bayou Zoo and Fat Pikachu. I am still here with you as Rare Adam, but of course joined by a new co-caster here. Anti, how are you doing this fine Monday evening?
Hello. I'm doing quite well for myself, especially after seeing those last two games. And the question here is, does Blue Bayou Zoo find a way how to seal this one out, or does Fat Pikachu get to find the reverse sweep, right? You know, it's the classic Cloud9 meme. It's like, oh yeah, you know, congrats on that 2-0 lead. There's no way that your enemy team makes a comeback at this point, right?
Yeah, and of course, as we get into draft here, we'll get to see what these teams opt to go for. But of course, we have to discuss the fact that, you know, Fat Pikachu last game specifically really had a lead going for themselves, weren't really able to execute on that at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Fat Pikachu have been getting these super strong leads, and their early games are phenomenal. It just seems like a bit of a disability of actually closing things out. Inability, rather, is the term here. But the question is, right, can Fat Pikachu find those same early game leads and really push that in the same way? You know, you have the Sejuani once again on board. You know, this time, however, you know, you're pairing it with things like Lux. You're not going to have, you know, the melee support that you're expecting here. Or, you know, we could actually see the Lux flex into a mid lane.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how all of that ends up playing out as well. I can't see draft right now, so I will pull up the screen so I can see draft.
And okay, so the Demon Dog comes on out. Now, I have gone on record to say I do not enjoy this champion because she is unbelievably busted in the right hands, and Fire Mana more than likely going to be the one to pilot that one. Instead, for Fat Pikachu, they're going to be picking up the Fiora, denying the Jaffe Fiora once again. But, you know, it's a thing where if you're going to take a pick to deny from the enemy top laner, you have to be prepared to fight the counter pick, right? So you're going to be banning away certain champions that you don't want to be fighting, like the Jax, like the Camille. So Jaffe's pool is really getting pinched here. You know, that's 3 out of the 5 bans listed are going to be directly towards Jaffe.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, it's somewhat of a peculation for Stormblast to be taking this champion away from the pool already. I mean, the Gangplank as well, a ban towards Jaffe. They're really focusing down on taking Jaffe off of that comfort, pushing him down the list a little bit more. Blackbang Trash, though, is going to pivot a little bit here, having played Zeri the past couple of games with quite good success here, is opting for the Kog'Maw instead. However, very quick pickups on the opposite side. Amumu picked up once again for Jacob Dudar, as well as Vlad here for Jaffe. This is something that Jaffe's been cooking up a little bit. Might as well talk about it now. I was playing games with BBZ yesterday. They were talking about, oh, you know, you've been playing the Vlad, right? I was like, I have insider information that I will use tomorrow. Jaffe has been playing a lot of Vlad in solo queue. It's interesting to see it picked up here because it's into the Fiora, so unfortunately there might be more bloodshed on the top side of this map than we had expected before. Granted, at the end of that, Stormblast might want to refund on whatever this Fiora can offer into the Vlad because it can be a very challenging matchup.
Yeah, but, you know, on the side of Fat Pikachu, going to be rounding that one out with the Zilean pick. We still have no idea whether or not the Lux or the Zilean is going to be the mid or the support. I'm going to be expecting the Zilean support, you know, just pump as many levels as you can as a Kog'Maw early, right? You know, and Zilean as a champion is just so good at facilitating this team, right? You know, you lack, you know, hard engage with good follow-up, throw Zilean speed-ups on your team. You know, you lack ways how to peel, throw an ultimate onto your AD carry. Congrats. They don't really need the peel. They just need your team to be able to capitalize on that revive. So right now, Fat Pikachu backs against the wall are going to be drafting damage on damage on damage.
And of course, Kenny Train will have that avenue to have some influence on the early side or early parts of this game as well. I think had a very strong performance in that first 15 minutes last game, which led to Fat Pikachu being able to run a little bit of interference on how Blue Bayou Zoo really wanted to play that game. Granted, once you get to the 20-minute mark, everything's off the table, and if those past two games are anything to wager on here, considering the drafts, considering how the series has gone, I have one question for you, Anti. Who do you think is taking this game 3?
Honestly, I do think that the edge does go to Blue Bayou Zoo. This composition is very strong and very easy to execute, which is the most important part of it, right? You know, the moment you get to those mid-game fights, right? You know, it's very easy to see Blue Bayou Zoo's win condition. You hit the wombo, straightforward, no questions asked. Fat Pikachu, what is your win condition for this team fight? It's like, well, play around the Kog'Maw W. We play around Fiora just being able to zone people out and solo people. Maybe Lux gets a pick and one-shot someone. Fat Pikachu can't really do a straight-up 5-5 team fight. They have to be going for picks. They have to be going for split pushing, drawing other people away. You know, BBZ does what BBZ does best, says, we're taking the team fight, we're gonna beat you in it. Come and get us. So if that Pikachu can get into those objectives first, maybe you might see things work out well there. But I do think Edge goes to Blue Bayou Zoo.
And we'll have to see if that is the case as we are hopping on to the Rift for game number 3, Blue Bayou Zoo on series point. Fat Pikachu must climb the mountain to get themselves back in this series to begin with and to move on in the final season of FOF. Of course, this is for the final crown that will be handed out here at the end of this season. Important stuff for any team in any regard. You want to be known as the final champions of FOF. And Blue Bayou Zoo have positioned themselves in such a way that you have to consider them one of the favorites still. Despite them being the 3rd seed, they had a very good second half of the season.
Yeah, and all right, we're gonna view shenanigans early on. You can see Kenny Train getting pushed out of this jungle as Jacob Dudar is going to be able to get a ward there. Yeah, we've got the entire team coming on up here. Maybe Jakunk gets a stack. All right, there it is. You know, a little bit of damage onto the Demon Dog. Fireman, I'm not too happy with that. I'm kind of petting them the wrong way there. But either way, BBZ, full commitment on the invade. The question is, have Fat Pikachu gotten the reverse in terms of vision? They have. All right, Blackpink Trash and Raptor getting that deep ward in response. Very, very important.
Yeah, BBZ taking a nice Sunday stroll through the top side of the map, looking for anyone who may cross their paths there. But at the end of the day, it is decorative, the wards that have been placed around the map. One, of course, giving that information that Red is going to help out Dax with this red buff. So there is an answer at the very least from these wards. Maybe there is some substance behind the decorations that have littered the map. At the same time, though, Kenny Train, no leash, just going to be doing what Sejuani does best, which is full clear into a gank, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani, the early game goddess, but once she hits 6, she can do so much work with it. Meanwhile, you know, Fireman and Jakunk just going to continue to trade up once against each other. And as we've seen time and time again, Jakunk's laning is absolutely impeccable. So Fireman has to really show the prowess with the Demon Dog, you know. Just needs to make sure that this Fury can show off just how strong it really is. You know, you don't have any pro players to really be stealing tech off of. It's simply just a matter of Jacob Dudar going straight into the bot lane. Hold on.
Yeah, of course, Raptor forced to back off a little bit there. A little bit hurt from that play. Nonetheless, Jacob Dudar has been very aggressive thus far this series, and it's worked out in their favor. A lot of these plays have gone through the aggression that they're able to execute on. Granted, Double Bomb going back the opposite way. You've got to be careful, because despite Jacob Dudar's aggression, there's just as much counter-aggression that can come through from Raptor. And Amumu, simply a young man in his youth, needs to be careful of absolutely everything that is thrown that way, at least before level 6. And then after that, yeah, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, you know, Amumu in bot lane, surprisingly tanky, because, you know, you take less damage from autos with your E passive, and, you know, when you're running the Aftershock, you know, you can be pretty dang tanky. Jacob Dudar engaging every time your Q is up means that you're going to be getting engages without Aftershock. You're going to be getting Double Bomb, which you cannot mitigate with the auto attack passive. So this Amumu, until it hits 6, is going to be pretty hard pressed to actually find any angles in the lane.
Yeah, of course, as this bot lane will develop, Sivir Amumu is not one of those combos that just sort of pops off the page there. But of course, the Sivir build that Red went for in game number 1, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. That's all I will say about that before I say something mildly offensive to the other side. But it did.
I mean,
I think we can say it did exceed expectations in terms of what at least Erebus and I had going into it. And
yeah.
it was in some ways the game 2 where we still have to question about Red's capabilities on the bottom side of that. They've had great performances thus far this season, but last game was just sort of a reality check saying, why'd you pick Twitch here in that sense, and didn't really execute on it as well. So is there still questions around this bot lane?
Yeah, I don't know, but right now the big question is, so Red has been continually picking very, I guess we could say it, progressive, like meta progressive champion picks here, right? Meanwhile, Kenny Train really trying to progress into this jungle, trying to really put out some pressure, trying to deny Dax any sort of extra gold. But yeah, so I know that you and Erebus had your reservations about the Airy Sivir, but a large part of it is just pure laning prowess, right? Meanwhile, once again, Jakunk and Fireman are just going to continue to battle it out in the mid lane. Just trying to make sure that we don't get a chance to really analyze any of this.
Oh, absolutely not. Their reluctance to stay docile in that mid lane is on full display, and I think it has been throughout this series. As has Jacob Dudar going aggressive. There's first blood going over to the Amumu. Kenny Train will trade it back with a nice little Arctic assault of their own, but Fireman is showing that the dog is here to play, not with a bark, but potentially with a mutter there, as unfortunately Jacob Dudar is traded out for that cause.
Yeah, and just like that, Jakunk going down early is so huge for the side of BBZ. But with the teleport, should be able to catch all these minions. Opts to not use it, gonna be able to have it available once that is unleashed for the 10-minute mark. Stormbliss is gonna pick up as much of this farm in the top lane. You can see that Dorn Shield really been coming into play here. Just very quietly got over to level 6. If Fiora Vlad matchup is not something that I'm particularly used to seeing in the top lane, but I can't imagine it being particularly great for Fiora in the early, and it can definitely get particularly difficult for Vlad in the late, assuming that Fiora's building properly, right? If she has the lockdown, if she has the healing reduction, and if she has the healing on her end, right, then she can really, really make Vlad's life a living hell.
And of course, despite those early trades going back and forth, once again, the game slows down as expected from these two. Very likely that we'll see one of, or both of these teams potentially look towards that dragon stacking mantra that we've seen thus far. But every single time that we expect the team to start building up a lead for themselves by dragons, it just ends up being a 7-dragon game. Anyways, granted, Kenny Train needs to be careful. Fireman bringing out a couple extra pack members to try and follow this up, but it is going to be onto Jakunk. Jakunk is caught out here, needs to try and find a way out. The bleed will do a decent chunk of damage. Oh, that boomerang blade was close as well, but instead, both Dax and Jakunk need to run for the hills with their tail between their legs, as that was a very close call on either side. Jaffe having a little bit of trouble here with Stormbliss thus far, but of course, as we know with Vladimir, it is simply a matter of time.
Yeah, and, as I was saying, right, Fiora versus Vladimir, there's a point where Fiora makes Vlad's life a living hell, but once Fiora gets the very first few items, Vlad's in trouble. If she can continually force the trades, force the pokes, right? You can see that Stormbliss is constantly going in on Jaffe, constantly denying the crit Qs, just constantly making sure that this Vlad can't just exist how he wants without, further thought. Right, there's some champions where they're just a ticking time bomb in the lane, and Vladimir's one of them, but you have to make sure to play it really, really safe, especially since you don't have the teleport here on the side of Jaffe.
Granted, Vladimir will just love to run into these team fights, full movement speed, cosmic drive in tow as well, just to ruin someone's day. Whoever that may be, looks like it starts with a J and ends with a Kunk. And potentially also starts with a B and ends with a lack pink trash. There's two very volatile members there. And unfortunately for Raptor, as much as they would love to save both of them, you might have to pick one in some of these fights.
Yeah, and oh man, that's a rough feeling. You know, Raptor's Q is just barely doing enough damage right now that you're seeing 14 CS on the Zillion, which is so rough
Shield.
when you're with a Kog'Maw with actually, oh my god, never mind. Raptor's a genius, and I had zero thought about that. You know, the Relic Shield of relatively substandard pick for the Zillion because it's so easy to get the pokes off into the melee supports, but is actually works out so incredibly well here. Meanwhile, Jakunk gonna be getting engaged on, taking a lot of damage, but oh baby.
Fire mana, oh my goodness, trying to turn it back around, drops the fire down into Jakunk. The bleed might not be there to finish it off. Jakunk will survive with a sliver. Dax there for moral support as well. Nonetheless, Jakunk and Fire Mana have gone back and forth, especially considering Jakunk coming back into the lineup for game 2.
There goes Dax!
Okay, Dax just did it to him. I was talking up about Jakunk and, you know, cast their curse, all that, blah, 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 blah. Jakunk had a great game 2, and now is struggling in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, the Lux just doesn't have the same kind of keep away that's needed to deal with, you know, the Maokai, with the Nefiri. Right? There's just so many champions on the enemy team that can just jump straight on top of you. And even if you have, you know, things like your minor slows, your roots, to try to keep them away as much as possible, once red gets involved, it becomes nigh impossible for Jakunk to really stay away on his own. You know, you just really need the entire team to work on this effort together.
Yeah, slowly but surely, they're building up a little bit of a lead for themselves here in this early game, but we'll have to see how that continues to progress for either side here, because as we've mentioned, whoever leads at 20 minutes doesn't win the game. It's not guaranteed. It usually just means that, you know, there's going to be 7 dragons, a bunch of Aaron throws, you know, a bunch of random fights absolutely everywhere, and you go from there. But under those same pretenses, maybe BBZ are just are finding their avenues to play towards that win condition even harder. You've got a Sivir, you've got a Vladimir, you've got late game out the wazoo at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have some strong late game, but on the side of Fat Pikachu, you have the Kog'Maw, right? I don't even care what the other 4 champions on the team are. Kog'Maw is the late game champion. You know, he is able to do enough damage to just fully out DPS an entire team. But on top of that, Fat Pikachu have decided to draft other champions that also do incredibly in the late game. Sejuani always going to be a strong tank. Zillion, honestly, the moment that champion hits level 18, it's almost impossible to deal with. And right now we're seeing it coming on in a little bit early, but
huge Curse of the Sad Mummy, gonna shut everything down. Jacob Dudar, number 2, says, no, you cannot pass. Dax shows up for a little bit of fun at the end, just a little bit of a zoning ult as well, but Fire Mana on the side. Raptor needs to be careful here. Took a couple of ricochets as well, but I think they are wiser to this play. No chance to get out of that one. Zillion gonna go back to base, stay safe as much as possible, as actually damage being taken by Fire Mana on the side as well. It's gonna be escaping with that one, as Jacob Dudar shows up for a great solo there. Call him a little bit of a prom king after that one. He was almost the prom king, but he gets his guitar solo, he gets it out of the way, and there you go, saving himself up.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Dudar with a beautiful ultimate. You know, I just cannot get over how unbelievably impactful Jacob has been in this game, and right now Kenny Train's feeling the brunt of it.
Yeah, Kenny Train has forced a flash out, taking so much damage. One time bomb will be enough to deter it, but actually Great Bind going to land onto Dax as well. Unfortunately, the second time bomb isn't there. Jacob Dudar doesn't have the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but here comes Fire Mana, brings the whole pack in with them. That's going to be one picked up on the Raptor. Has saved Jakunk's life for a little bit. Oh, Final Spark won't quite be enough. Dax smites down the Lux where she stands. 0-3-1 to start this one off for Jakunk. This is not a repeat performance from last game. In fact, this is Blue Bayou Zoo saying, it's late enough. Let's get the bet a little bit earlier. Let's end this game quick.
And just like that, love sign final spark going to be coming out, but the only thing that seems to be final is the game count, as BBZ are looking to end it all. You know, the Herald dropped down as Fat Pikachu are just trying to claw their way back into this game. Kenny Train still in a very good position, right? You have the Radiant Virtue completely finished. You're going to be able to get some kind of gold off this Herald, you know, whether it be the minions or the plates as they fall out here, but you're just trying to just squeeze out as much gold as possible. You got a decent chunk over onto the Sedge now. The question is, will that frontliner be able to tank up all this damage? And against a champion like Sivir, it's actually so tough to be a frontliner because you get auto-attacked, your backline takes the damage for that.
And of course, we still need to mention that this top side of the map, despite Stormblast getting the better of some of those early trades, now Jaffe is able to sort of spread their wings a little bit more. This Vladimir is here to mess up Stormblast's day. What a show put on that top side of the map. Stormblast could write a whole thesis about why you shouldn't be touching infected blood, because that was absolutely ridiculous from Jaffe. One item says, hey, you know what? Time to shut it down.
Yeah, and just like that, BBZ shutting down all vision in the bot side. Wait, what?
Wait a sec, Jakunk with the final spark. Why don't you? You know, you can't kill a champion in this game, but you can kill the dragon. Unfortunately for Blackpink Trash, there is one dog, or 6 dogs are better than one, I guess. Kog'Maw not going to be able to survive that one. The Void Puppy goes down again.
Yeah, Fireman are going to let those dogs out. Has Red just going to continue to push down this mid lane? You know, Jakunk still looking to make the big hero plays, still looking to try to make the game-saving plays as much as possible. You know, so much of Fat Pikachu's play rests on Jakunk's shoulders, as, you know, Stormblast is going to get slowly pushed out by this Vladimir, especially once you've fallen behind an early kill, right? Meanwhile, BBZ are just picking up so much in terms of towers, in terms of gold, in terms of farm. Like, there's a 3K, 4K gold lead, honestly, at this point from the side of BBZ. And it's so difficult to see what Fat Pikachu's avenues to get back are. If they play it slow, you have to start playing for picks.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the BBZ have picked themselves up a substantial lead at this point. Of course, I say that tongue-in-cheek considering what we've seen in the past from both of these teams in terms of having a lead and doing nothing with it until after 35 minutes. But nonetheless, it is a very similar situation to how their game 1 went, but it just feels as if their comp has so much more confidence behind it this time, playing into their style a little bit more, pulling out some of these pocket picks that they so desire, and being able to band together, use their expertise as a tool to continue to expand on their lead. Of course, Jaffe here, I wouldn't put him out of the question in a 1v2. A 1v3 might be a lot, but Grand Challenge is issued. Jaffe trying to run for the hills. Great pull to get away from that one. Flash over the wall. See you later, Fat Pikachu. 4 members on the bot side isn't enough to get the escape master himself.
Yeah, and just like that, Jaffe going to continue the split push prowess. You know, it's constantly drawing pressure down to these side lanes, and Jaffe more than happy to force everyone on over. Meanwhile, Champion Red, Jacob Dudar, and Fireman are gonna pull this tower to the ground, but oh my god.
Yeah, Jacob Dudar
so much.
A little bit too deep in that situation as well. Gets taken down with plenty of help coming through from that tower before it was destroyed. Unfortunately, Shelly will not get as much value as potentially possible, is removed from play immediately. But Jacob Dudar just making sure that the rest of the team can pride themselves on having no deaths, taking the deaths for the team thus far this game.
But right now, you know, Jaffe just going to continue to farm up this side lane. A 30 CS lead over the Fiora. Stormblast still not a bit of healing reduction in sight here. You know, just going to try to pick up that Hydra. Going to try to pick up as much healing as possible, so that way you can start to fight against this Vladimir. But Dax is just doing so much damage. It's a question of whether or not Stormblast can actually ever match it. Meanwhile, on the side of Fat Pikachu, you do have the Kog'Maw just continually farming up as much as possible. Meanwhile, Red is looking for that Black Cleaver second. You know, the Sivir build is very meta progressive, right? Is the words that I used earlier. Right? It's just all about constant laning dominance turning into constant damage for the Neferi, and oh my god, looks like red's not even needed.
Yeah, Fire Mana is doing several chunks of damage to Jakunk at this point. Might be replied to with that final spark, but Kenny Train now is just going to be that frontliner. Try and chase the dog away. Ultimate going to come down as well. Fire Mana dodging away, going back in. Great block coming through from Kenny Train to prevent the dog from finding her prey once again. The tolerance here from the side of Fat Pikachu as Fire Mana continues to pester on the side, ends up leading to a shutdown into the pockets of Kenny Train here.
And
the Fury's such a fun champion.
Yeah, one of the longest chases of the day, and the Fury finally goes down. The Demon Dog is vanquished, and Dax is going to continue to farm up, has zero qualms about what just happened to his mid laner. Just going to continue to get as much vision in the spot side for Jaffe. You can see so much of the vision is concentrated on the bot side of the map, meaning that they can not only get there first to the dragon, but also get Jaffe so much more information.
That's what's important. I think a lot of this series has come down to providing information to Jaffe so that Jaffe can Jaffe. We've seen it. We saw it, what, 3-4 times last game where 4 members show up. Jaffe says, haha, you can't catch me. Meh, take that. And you just have to take it. You have to take it, and you have to say sorry about it as well. Jaffe's going to make you apologize at the end of that one. Nonetheless, you can see this dragon control arrested over. Jakunk will try and steal it, will not be successful this time around, as once again another dragon goes in favor of BBZ.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's another matter of, you know, just trying to go for the blind steal. Maybe you make the hero play, maybe you don't. But BBZ not going to be faltering this time around. Not quite the villains of this story, as they start to posture towards the Baron, trying to get us rid of as much of this vision as possible. You know, so much of it was dedicated for Jaffe, but now that they have so many people drawn towards the top side of the map, Jaffe doesn't even need that vision.
Yeah, Jaffe can just chill wherever they want. Dog's going to be pulled out here. Unfortunately, no real targets to take advantage of. Never mind, Jacob Dudar's in the backline. That's 3 members on the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Turning the Lux to powder before she can even get anything off. Blackbane Trash is still doing a lot of damage on the opposite side. Raptor now using that Resurrect, staying alive for just a little bit longer. Fire Mana might have overstepped, as did Jacob Dudar. Fire Mana, though, kiting back well. All that healing will not be enough. Raptor drops the double bomb and says, that's the tempo special. You're going to the grave. You're going in the tube. That's a 2 for 1. 2 for 2, actually, between these two teams, as Fat Pikachu still fighting back.
Yeah, and we've seen this one time and time again. BBZ get a lead. It gets a little bit lopsided, and actually ending out the game turns into a little bit of a struggle. So Fat Pikachu right now, if they're going to make their way back in, need to find a way how to really seal out this game, right? We've seen their absolute tenacity in games over the course of the season. Right now, Stormblast try to pick up even more gold and put it into the pockets of the Fiora. We do have the Executioner's Calling finish. We are working on that Hydra right now, and this Fiora will eventually turn into a real problem for the Vladimir. Like I said, right? It's just a matter of getting there, and Jaffe's making it so difficult because Stormblast is just playing catch up this entire game, and Jaffe is running like a marathon runner.
I think a major factor behind Jaffe's gameplay is that he understands the core concepts of split pushing, that he can space out Stormblast as well on a champion like Vlad. You're ranged. You don't have to fully commit into these fights. The Executioner's Calling is great to have there, but that's 800 gold that you're spending on. I guess it can count for the Neferi as well. It is 800 gold that you are not spending on an item that does more damage or gives you more dueling power. A lot of times, it's nice to have Grievous Wounds, but sometimes you just have to take it on the chin and say, you know what? I just need to do more damage. I just need to do enough to survive and kill Jaffe as opposed to prevent him from healing. Granted, Jaffe may have overstepped. Grand Challenge gets tossed down. So does the Hemo Plague. Jaffe turns into a little red dot and leaves. See you later.
Yeah, and right now Jaffe's goal isn't to go for. Oh my God! Never mind.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, Jacob Dudar has a plan in mind. That is to drop a 2-man curse of the sad mummy. Fireman is removed from play, but it's 2 kills going back over to Blackpink Trash. This Kog'Maw is starting to ramp up. Red force the flash over the wall. Kenny Train will survive with health with that Radiant Virtue as well as the shields. My goodness, Fat Pikachu once again proving that early game leads mean absolutely nothing in this series. They are so tolerant against this BBZ push.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be making an anime comeback without being down first. And what is Fat Pikachu if not the protagonist of the first season of Pokemon? But either way, you can see just continual pushes from the side of Fat Pikachu. I said it once, I said it again, right? Fat Pikachu's team fighting is very, very difficult to execute in comparison to BBZ's team fighting, as long as you don't have all 5 pieces. Right? Like, so the moment that Jaffe gets there, that team fight might absolutely turn into a different direction. But Stormblast going to continue to force Jaffe into that side lane, going to continue to keep him away. Means that it's going to be so difficult to see whether or not the Wombo comp can really come on through. Jaffe is a very, very solid split pusher, as you've been saying. But
as we've all seen as well.
Full disclosure. I mean, the thing is... as we have all seen. But if you don't have all 5 pieces of Exodia, you don't instantly win the game. And if Jaffe is just going to continue to play on the side here, it's going to be very difficult to see BBZ to really get the full value of this composition. Meanwhile, Raptor, so fast, you can't Killian the Zillion, not going to be able to make it on over.
Zillion's been having some sort of balanced breakfast formula in their diet, as they're very fast to get out of there. Of note, Raptor did opt for a more aggressive Zillion build as well with his Everfrost, as opposed to something like the Shirelias, opting for the damage route as opposed to the Tempos route, while Dragon is being taken, though. Fat Pikachu have opted to go fat in their gameplay, in their decision-making, and taking this Baron. It is still getting taken down here and here. They take it right away. Jacob Dudar not able to get in range in time. They will not be able to catch up. Fireman is going to get rooted up as well. Wording on that last little bit was complex at the very least. Much like Earthflax. I had to get my bingo out of the way. I have no idea what Earthflax means. Let's just get it done. Baron goes over to the side of Fat Pikachu.
Yeah, and just like that, trading Soul Point for Baron, and Fat Pikachu will take that trade any day. The gold lead shrinks to 1k, less than 1k, looking to shrink down into nothing soon enough. You can see Blackpink Trash getting closer and closer to that wits and gonna be able to survive against the Vladimir. But until you finish your Bork, right, it's going to be a question of how do you punch through the ridiculous health values of the Vladimir, of the Maokai, right? These incredibly high health champions where, if you're relying on the W damage alone, it's high, but it's not quite high enough.
And it does depend on what they opt to go for later items. Seems like Wit's End is on the table right now for Blackpink Trash. Whether we get the Titanic Hydra as a potential option down the road to make sure Blackpink Trash can just have as much health and dish out as much damage as they do. Another option, there are multiple Kog'Maw items. Jacob Dudar flashes in! The team isn't even there yet, buddy. Jacob Dudar burning that up, but here comes Fireman. Actually, there's the team that you're looking for. Fireman finds Jakunk as well. Still looking for more. Jacob Dudar looking for that second bandage toss, but look at Dax's health. Not in the best of situations.
But watch Stormblast.
Stormblast doing their best Jaffe cosplay. That's a tier 2 turret. Guess what? Stormblast don't care about your team fight. Stormblast cares about taking towers.
Yeah, especially since Stormblast is the one with teleport, meaning that any of these fights go south, you can have the Fiora there. Jaffe doesn't have that luxury, right? You can't have Jaffe, you can't have Fire Mana to match the split push on the side of Fat Pikachu. And once again, come playoffs, every single one of these seasons in FOF, split push reigns supreme. You need someone with teleport to match.
Yeah, of course. BBZ trying to end the game before that split push becomes a game losing factor in the grand scheme of things. Of course, Jaffe is going to have to deal with Stormbless, who has now done their best to just dance around the sides of these maps, find as many towers as possible, and keep this game very close, despite the control that Blue Bayou Zoo had for much of this early game. Once again, we hit 25-30 minutes, and leads do not exist, dead even in the gold at this point, all things considered. At a certain point, you stop caring about the hundreds, and you really need to look towards the thousands, of which there are 0 thousands between these two teams in difference.
Yeah, I mean, also you start looking at the dragons, and that Executioner's Calling is getting more and more value. But as far as Fat Pikachu's concerned, right, you don't want it to get too much value. You don't want to be fighting into an Ocean Soul. Raptor, on the other hand, trying to make sure that they're really fighting.
Oh my goodness, huge Curse of the Sad Mummy, though, shuts the play down. 4 members locked down. Red able to get out with their life despite the fangs of Fat Pikachu bearing down on them. Unfortunately, Pikachu does not learn Thunder Fang in the moveset, so that's why they don't have much of a bite behind that one. Of course, now looking towards this Ocean Soul potential for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. They're already positioning for it. They're looking for the fights to begin with. Baron has expired. And now Fat Pikachu need to reassess the situation, try and get as much money in their inventories as possible, because this fight could be the last one that we get.
Meanwhile, on the side of BBZ, you can see the continual just clearing of all that vision. Just, it's a team effort, everyone working on it together. While Blackpink Trash is going to continue to pick up as much farm as possible, as much gold as possible, as much experience as possible. That's why you have the Zillion right there, just pumping level after level after level. And oh my god.
Yeah, Dax has found the pick on a Raptera, will be able to revive themselves with a Chrono Shift, but is that enough? And very likely not. As over the wall, Blackpink Trash able to deal some decent damage to Fireman. And look at the damage this Kog'Maw is able to do, but unfortunately no killing blows are attained by the Void Puppy. And now, Dragon Control has been fully given over to the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. What will Fat Pikachu reply with? Obviously, for the time being, it seems as if Stormbless is the only answer. But do they really care if they give up an inhibitor for the soul? Maybe not, because Fireman is there to defend the day anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Fireman having an opportune back opportunity. Meanwhile, Kenny needs...
Oh my goodness. Jacob Dudar takes the long train over with Kenny on the back end of that. Look at this. Emo Plague lands onto 1. Jaffe dealing so much damage. Great ultimate onto 2 members. This could be the game right here as Jaffe finds a huge ultimate, finds a kill onto Jakunk as well. Unfortunately, Fireman goes down, so Stormbless still pushing on the opposite side, still looking to try and split push. Get a quick instant replay of that as pretty sure Stormbless just runs down Fireman.
Yeah, I mean, this is 17 Fiora pushing down the side lane. Meanwhile, Fireman just has no chance. Calls the hunt, but it does not matter. No matter how many are in the pack, Stormbless will be able to take you on. In the end, it is the French who are able to take it all, as Raptor looks over in vain, understands that there's no way that you're going to be able to steal this dragon. Actually goes straight on in. Hold on, Raptor, what are you doing?
Yeah, Raptor forced to flash away from that as well. Despite 3 members being down, Raptor did their best to try and survive it. Surprise, surprise, we finally get a game without 7 dragons. It is a soul picked up for BBZ, and despite them losing their top inhibitor, they're still feeling pretty good about the course of action here, considering this Vladimir now sitting on 3 completed items. And of note, Cosmic Drive is complete, so that's a lot of ability haste Jaffe's going to be working with.
A lot of ability haste and a lot of move speed. That's completely impossible to mitigate on the side of Fat Pikachu, right? Blackpink Trash is going to continue to try to kite away as much as possible. When you got this much attack speed, it gets really, really difficult. Even if you have, 1,000 move speed from the Zillion, kiting just gets so difficult when the auto attacks come out this quickly, because you're trying to not lose out on the DPS as the Bork just continues to come in. You're just going to continue to rack up the damage. And speaking of damage, BBZ looking for the Baron here, starting it all up, dumping damage straight into that purple worm.
Oh, they've definitely got more than enough damage for it. It's just whether the side of Fat Pikachu can even contest it. That's not a way to do so. Maokai Ultimate goes over. Nature's Grass going to prevent that from going over. Valiant effort coming through from Kenny Train, but it may be all for naught. Kenny Train will be revived with that Chrono Shift. Will they be able to get over the wall is the major question. Does not seem to be the case as of yet. Does get over after a while, That's going to be Hemo Plague. Lots of damage. Look at where Fireman is, though, in the backline. 1v4. Getting busy with it. That's 3 members from Jacob Dudar getting locked up with the Curse of the Sad Mummy. But it is a fight on multiple fronts. 3 members reset. Fireman finds Kenny Train as Stormblast continues to push down the base.
Yeah, and a 1-for-1 Kenny Train going to be going down here, but you have no huge jungle camps coming on up, so it's fine for Kenny Train to go down here. Jacob Dudar giving over their lives, just trying to make sure to push this game as far as possible, while Blackpink Trash picks up level after level after level. You know, this Kog'Maw just gonna continue to level up. And honestly, one question here is, how in the world is Red keeping up with Blackpink Trash in level?
I have no clue at this point. Granted, 320 CS in the inventory will do that for you. 2-0 and 8, not dying this entire game will also do that for you. Being ahead in gold will also do that for you if you are the side of Red. Of course, Jaffe, despite the anti-heal, I don't think Jaffe really cares. Still looking to rumbo with Stormblast there. Back up to basically full HP. Kenny Train now forced to come down and provide support. Jaffe can play a champion that isn't very good at split pushing in a Vladimir and still find a way to be very good at split pushing.
I mean, Stormblast right now, you know, getting a little bit of the same medicine that we saw earlier. Meanwhile, Firemana, you know, doing his best Belveth cosplay, has so many dogs, has so many minions here, and Kenny Train taking so much damage.
Yeah, Kenny Train trying to find an answer to this fight. Lots of damage being dealt onto Dax, but that's the tank. That's not who you need to focus down on. Red is just hitting away at that turret. Meanwhile, Jaffe on the bottom side of the map will be able to try and stay alive from this one. Stormblast needs a little bit more. Finally, the raid boss is down. Vladimir is removed from play, but this top side fight is not going in favor of Fat Pikachu. Red is still very healthy. Multiple members low on health. Dax will find Rap Terror, and Jacob just playing interference once again. Blackpink Trash now in trouble. We'll get knocked back into the team. That's it. Champion Red has found the Void Puppy once again. Kog'Maw off the table, and now it is Kenny Train, Stormblast, and Jakunk against the world. Huge ultimate coming through from Jacob Dudar. No damage to back it up, though. Final Spark may be able to collect Jacob Dudar. He will not fall yet either. Kenny Train burning down as well, but look at the towers. Firemana taking down that first Nexus tower. Gonna be another follow-up going back there from Dax, and it's just too much damage to deal with. Blue Bayou Zoo. They made it interesting. They made it intense. They definitely hurt my voice after this one, but they 3-0 sweep Fat Pikachu. They are moving on to semifinals.
Just like that, Blue Bayou Zoo gonna show off exactly why they're one of the few teams to make it to FOF finals. They're trying to repeat history. They've come so close to greatness so many times, and this time they're so laser focused in. They want it, they need it, and they're looking for that trophy.
And honestly, with how they played today, despite the tumultuous nature of games 1 and 2, this game definitely felt as if BBZ were in control for a majority stake of this game. Great stuff coming through from Red. You know what, Red, I apologize profusely. I was unfamiliar with your game. Look at the damage coming through from Static Shiv, Black Cleaver, Duskblade of Drakthar Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, that turns into I do believe it's in Sorelda's Grudge, and then a Bloodthirster like that. That Sivir build is actually something that I think a lot of people in FOF need to be keeping their eyes on. It is absolutely disgusting. You have so much laning priority and so much damage once the mid game rolls around, and Red played it beautifully. Meanwhile, you know, Jaffe's Vladimir, also a pick that you have to be watching, and that's one of the things about playing in playoffs, is that's when people start to really bring out their secret picks, start to really bring out the things that they've been prepping and practicing for. And right now, BBZ, their preparation has absolutely paid off.
Yes, and of course, great stuff all around from BBZ, but we do have to look at Fat Pikachu's season as well. In the end, despite the outcome today, they did have a very strong season for themselves. In some ways, it's the story of what could have been. They talked about it in their pre-game interview there, or the pre-recorded interview, saying, listen, we had some players just go on vacation, and who knows what could have been with this team had they stayed together the entire year. Unfortunately, we'll never know, but nonetheless, a very entertaining team all the way until the end. Thank you to Fat Pikachu for an amazing season. Unfortunately, your run ends short here with BBZ moving on with the 3-0. However, after all is said and done with that, I believe we have an interview with one of the winners. We'll get that set up for you. We'll head to a quick break. We'll see you next time for more FOF action. That'll be tomorrow. Interview right after this break, though.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the interview desk. I am Sharugan. It has been an absolute fantastic set of 3 matches with Blue Bayou Zoo taking down Fat Pikachu, securing themselves a spot in going into the semifinals. We are going to have to see how things shake out there. I have got joining me on the desk Fire Mana and Jacob Dudar. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
It's fantastic having you both here. So, as I understand it, we'll eventually hop into this, but you two are the 2 newbies on BBZ. Is that correct?
Yes. Brand new.
Well, how have you been liking the experience so far?
It's been really fun.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any sort of like standouts that you've had like really exciting? I mean, first of all, congratulations making it this far into the league as 2 newcomers. Has the competition been kind of what you expected?
It's mostly within the ballpark. Yeah. Obviously there are a few standout teams and players and stuff like that, but as far as how like the competition's been, it's just been really fun, like competing against other people in a organized kind of format, and everybody's been very welcoming, and it's just been fun.
Awesome. And Jacob, how about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. The teams are every range of skill with different players, and they're all kind of got different aspects to them, which I think is really cool. Like going against Fat Pikachu, they're a really great team. Sad that we have to knock them out, but
You know,
they're really fun playing against them.
Absolutely. It looked like y'all both were having a lot of fun with a lot of back and forth going on there. And it is kind of like the nature of a competition where one team's got to lose, one team's got to win. It's just kind of the nature of League of Legends. But let's go ahead and just kind of go over this last game. Was there any particular strategy that you had going in? I believe, Fireman, you mentioned something about Red's stupid builds.
Yeah, Red has stupid builds. So we actually found out about this Sivir build that he used in game 1 and 3. We found it today. So that's we had 0 time to practice with it. We just kind of threw Sivir with the build into our comp, and it worked. So as far as like actual strategy for drafting went, we just wanted to play standard for the first couple games and not try anything crazy. And then in game 3, we took out the Vlad pick that Jaffe has been like spamming because he's been wanting to play it, and I've been wanting to play Nefiri, and we just kind of thought that we might as well. It's something that we've tried in, normal draft before, so we figured we might pull it out on the stage.
Right. And Jacob Dudar, as the one who was stuck having to babysit the Red during those stupid builds, how did you feel about that?
For the first 2 games, it felt kind of rough because the Zeri was like so oppressive, and she was able to do. In the 3rd game, it was got to roam a lot, which is usually what I don't get to do. Agma Zillion was in a very strong net early game, so we got to run around and kind of be everywhere. It was always a great time.
It always is, absolutely. Yeah, no, as a support main, I totally understand how it can be whenever your ADC decides to do something crazy. So with that, though, kind of going, now that you've been successful in this first best of 5, which was that your first ever best of 5 series?
Yep.
How did that feel, knowing that you've got a couple more sets of best of 5s going forward? How does that kind of play out in your head?
I mean, to me, it just feels like, you're playing more games of the league. So, I mean, I'm used to sitting down and grinding league games out. So, playing a bunch in a row is nothing particularly special. I mean, it's an organized environment, so you feel a little bit more pressure, but if you just, reset your brain in between the games and think of it as, just another game of League to win, it's fine.
Do you think there was something to be said about the fact that you're playing the same opponents over and over? Did you start to kind of get a rhythm down and start to figure things out?
Yes and no. It definitely depends on, obviously, how draft plays out. But, I mean, Jakunk plays lane really aggressive, and their jungler is always around mid, and their bot lane just wants to scale and get out and, you know, tear up fights late, and their top laner just wants to split push, and it kind of happened the same way every game. I don't know if we necessarily found a rhythm for it, but looking back at it now, you can kind of see similarities in how the 3 games played out.
Same go for you, Jacob Dudar?
I really think that BBZ does better in best of 3s and best of 5s. The best of 1s kind of like we tend to like do really well, and then we throw one fight and lose the game. So this format definitely is better for us because we can
kind of sort of plan things out.
Yeah.
Well, with that, kind of, I've got 2 more questions for you, and they kind of tie into each other, so I'll just ask you both at the same time. With the next set of matches coming up, we've got In the Trees versus Universal Basic Income. Both of them exceptionally strong teams that I'm kind of surprised to see in tiebreakers. However, they're going to be going up against each other, and then Oversoul is going to be picking the next opponent that they have. Who do you think is going to win that first set of matchups between INT and UB, and who do you hope OVS picks to go up against next, and who do you hope Art of War ends up having to face?
So for UB versus INT, honestly, they're similar enough teams in terms of like strength, I think, that the match could go either way. I'm personally hoping UB wins just because I just want UB to win. I think they're a more entertaining team to watch. They've been friendly, and they're also, just history with FOF and BBZ. I think it'd be nice to see them go farther. And I honestly think OVS, I think we don't want them to pick us, and I think it's smarter for them not to pick us. I think there is a clear, not anything crazy, but just a divide in power level between UB and INT, and then BBZ is like a step up. So I think it's easier for them to pick the winner of that series.
And what about you, Jacob Dudar?
I definitely hope UB can make it through. I enjoyed playing against them a lot. But as for the finals, I really want AWE to play against us in the finals. I got a showdown with Ariri. Hopefully that'll be so fun to play. That's what I'm hoping for personally, but I know like strategically maybe it's not the best option, but it's what I want.
Kind of seems like Ariri, if you're looking at the Twitch chat, seems to be like expecting that he's going to have to face off against Red in the bot lane come next set of games. So I think
we can work out a pick and ban for ourselves if we want.
You know, that's secret win trading. You don't talk about that on air. Don't talk about that on air. All right, well, folks, Friar Mana, Jacob Dudar, I want to say thank you so much for joining us in this Friend or Foe League. It has been absolutely fantastic watching y'all play. One thing I do want to give you both the opportunity is to, if you have anything you'd like to say to INT or UB or OVS or Art of War, if there's anything you want to throw out to them, I'll give you both an opportunity. Fireman, I'll go to you first, and Jacob Dudar, you can go right after.
UB, you guys better win. If you don't, I'm gonna fucking clown on you guys. Oh, I can't curse on air, can I? Whatever. And Jakunk MVP voters in shambles. Fraudulent activity today. Fraudulent gameplay.
And Jacob?
Yeah, I really want to thank Ariri for messaging me and getting me into this league. It's been probably my favorite part of League of Legends. So far I've played. This is probably the best I've had fun with this game. I want to thank him for that.
Absolutely. I feel like Ariri is definitely one of those folks who's been kind of one of the Friend or Foe glue Shows just how powerful we can be, and it's been really exciting watching BBZ come this far. I'm looking forward to seeing what you both do in the next upcoming matches. It's going to be really exciting. So folks, remember to check out the FOF Connect. Check in tomorrow for the INT versus UB best of 5 game. It's going to be an absolute exciting one. I expect that one to go to a best of 5, and I kind of hope it does, because there's a little bit of an Easter egg if we do make it to that best of 5 game, even though I absolutely do not want broadcast running that late. It is going to be exhausting, but I look forward to it anyway. Either way, folks, it has been absolutely fantastic having you all here tonight. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.